Hi, and welcome to this AI in C# video on the Microsoft Agent Framework. In this video, we're going to look at a very cool concept for adding user memory to your agents. It's called iContext Provider, and we're using a custom version of it in this video. And to let you see what it is, I will start actually with running it a few times and then show you the code. Because here I have a normal agent, but I have added memory to it. But if I ask it, for example, what is my name? It doesn't know. That is quite normal for an agent. Of course, I need to tell it in a conversation thread, and then it will begin to understand. So I could, for example, say, my name is Rasmus. And now it knows. So if I say, what is my name? It now knows. But we all know that when we run these and then just close it and start it again, it normally ends up not knowing again, because we don't have any persistence in any way. We could persist the entire conversation, but let's say I just wanted to talk with the agent again with something new. But now if I say, what is my name? It actually knows. And I can also give it other information. For example, my favorite is blue, and I live in Denmark. And again, if I stop the code and I start it again, I can now ask, what do you know about me? And now it knows 3 facts: that my name is Rasmus, my favorite color is blue, and I live in Denmark. And I could say, forget where I live. And start and stop again. What do you know about me? And now we can see it only knows 2 things. So how is this achieved? Let's go into the code. The sample is up here in an AI Context Provider factory, where we use the custom version. There's other versions, but we will save them for other videos. So what I have done here is I have made user memory. And in order to do user memory in my book is then we have a user ID. So this is me simulating that I have logged in with this user, RWJ1234. Then I do a normal OpenAI client, and then I make something called a memory extractor agent. And I use the cheapest model possible because it will run fairly often. And I've given it an instruction that says, look at the user's message and extract any memory that we not already know, or none if there aren't any memories to store. So this agent is by itself, and we're not really calling it here. Instead, we are adding our agent with custom memory, and we are just making the agent like normal and giving instructions, but that's just your nice AI. So we're not telling this user memory up front or anything. But what we are providing is this AI context factory, which sits on the chat client agent options. And if we give one of these, we can make one of them ourselves, where we then give the memory extract agent and the user for it. And before we go and look at that, we just see that else we do a normal thread, and we just ask the user and again. So we're not we're not saving anything in the normal code. But this one is special in that it receives an agent and it receives the user ID. And what I do here is I tell that this user's memory is in this specific file in my temp folder. So if I look at my temp folder, there's actually a file here with my memory, which is the two things we had. And this is just, of course, simulating some kind of data store. It could have been a database, a blob storage, or whatever we wanted to save this in. But in our case, if we find a file, we add that as user facts to this custom context provider. And then we override two things here. We override an invoking async and an invoked async. So invoking async is actually a call that it will do just before, when we run this, before it actually goes to the LLM, we can give further instructions. So if we set a breakpoint here and run again, we can also set a breakpoint here in order to see it. So here, because when we new up the agents, it will go to this. We'll see our user ID is here, and it will go in and fetch the memory we have already. So our user facts is now up in memory for this agent. And then it's done creating the agent. And then when we ask a question, what is my name? It will happen this invoking async as part of the run async here. So this part has not happened yet. The AI have not been asked what is my name, but it's been given on the fly here some more instructions. And in my case, it's just the user facts I string concatenate together, so it have these two strings. You could give it in XML, in JSON, whatever you want. I'm just giving it simple facts here. So whenever this happens, and let me also set a breakpoint down here. Now the agent have actually responded back already. We can't see it yet, but just after it's finished doing its thing and it releases us back to us here, we get the invoked, meaning now the request and the response have happened. And we can see that in the context here, where we can see that the request message was, what is my name? And we can see in response messages, I'm pretty sure we can see those as well. Yeah, response messages here. And it said, your name is Rasmus. So what we're doing is we're just extracting what it was the user actually said. In this case, what is my name? And we're going and run the agent that is our memory extractor and tell, we already know the following about the user. We know that it's what their name is, and we know that their favorite color is blue. But based on the message we have right now, what is my name, extract further memory, either to add or to remove. In this case, it will come back with a response where there's nothing to add, nothing to remove, because our message is just what is my name. So it will do nothing special here. It will just update live the user's memory with what we already had. And we get our response back. But if I go into the agent now and ask it something more, or give it some information, again, I live in Denmark. Now the invoking will still go on because it doesn't know if it needs to give the facts or not, so it will always be given up front, which is not important here. But the important thing here is that the message was I live in Denmark, and the memory extractor will now see that, okay, based on that, I probably should make a memory update here that says I need to add one memory, I live in Denmark, and nothing to remove because I didn't ask to remove. So it now adds that memory. So we now have 3 memories in the file, and we can see that by just opening it and see we have 3 data. And it will just confirm that it has saved that. So when I say or stop this one and start it again, it now will get the 3 informations. In this case, it's going in and grabbing them now, and it will have the 3 information. And when I say, what do you know about me? Again, it will go in on the fly, give the 3 user facts up front. And again, this could be done by making the agent and grabbing this, but this is a nice way of making something that works for every agent about the user facts, for example. And again, in this case, it will not grab anything new out of memory because it was just a question and not something worth remembering. So now it knows this, and I can say forget my favorite color. It will go in, extract that I want to remove, that my favorite color is blue. Remove that from the list, so now only have the 2 things again, and come back to us. So again, all of this could have been done by giving instructions here again and again based on the facts, and after the response, the normal response down here, we could have extracted and so on. But this is just a nice way of putting it sort of in process. So now this custom thing can be used across multiple agents and just be reused, because now I've built a system that can store memories. And I can plug that into any agent across my system if I need to. Of course, I probably wouldn't save it in a temp folder, save it in a database, and so on. So this is what AI context can do. There's other AI context where Microsoft have built something by itself. They have a chat history memory that uses vector stores for this data. And they have a mem0 that does something similar. But I like this fact that you can control it yourself, how it can be done, that you can forget stuff again, or whatever you want to use this for, because it's essentially just before and after any LLM call, do something. So that is actually everything. See you in the next one.